Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Janie B, and welcome to the Janie B Perspective. It is Thursday, and it is March the 10th. This is episode number 3 of season 2. Tonight, we are talking about the ultimate body. We're talking about body image, everything from fat shaming, diet culture, to fat phobia, to thinness, and to the BMI, and how women are viewed in society in regards to their body. It is Women's History Month, and that is why we are going to be focusing more on women than we are the men, although we know that it affects men. And I don't want to just sit here and take up all the space. This is my sister. This is Jandera Waterman, and she is going to be discussing this topic with me today. How are you doing, sis?
Fine. Hello. It's Thursday.
Right.
And the week is almost ending. So excited about that. But I am excited to be here tonight and to have this discussion with you. So
Yeah, I totally think it's an important one. And it's like totally appropriate. I do want to say that we are live here on Facebook and also on YouTube. So not right now, but you can go over at some point to YouTube and make sure that I would love for you to subscribe once you watch the show and if you enjoy the content this evening. Okay, so what we're going to go ahead and do is I have this new thing that I'm doing. So in the beginning of the show, we're going to have a moment. It's the Janie B moment. I have some rocks here and they have different words on it. I am not going to look at the one I'm going to pick up. I'm just going to pick up one. And what I'm going to do is whatever is on it, that's what I'm going to talk about. So let's see what we get today. I didn't look. Okay, this one says live, L-I-V. I was going to say live, but live. Live. So when I think of live, I think about thriving and not being in survival mode. I think about living your best life. I think about everything that is important to me, people who are important in my life. It makes me think about love. It makes me think about all the things that I am grateful for. And I want to say it's very easy to get stuck in survival mode. And it does take some work to actually be in the present moment. And when you're in the present moment, that's when you can really experience a life of a fulfilling life, a whole life, not being in the past, not being too far in the present, but living in the moment. So that's the word on live, L-I-V-E. Okay, so let's get on to our topic again. If you're just joining us, or when you do, we're talking about the ultimate body image. What is body image? Body image is the mental image that one has of their own body. It is like whatever your perception is of your own body, not what I think like sis about your body, and not what you think about mine or think about other people's. It's also about how much what I think my sexual attractiveness is. And what the thing about body image is, we can kind of get that skewed if we confuse it with how someone else sees us. If we try to show up how somebody else wants us to look, or are you frozen? Are you there? I think she's frozen. Okay, so you want to have a healthy body image. A healthy body image is to view yourself in a positive light, not how you think that society should see you, but how you should definitely see yourself. It's being comfortable in your own body and in your own skin. So the idea is that I am healthy in my own image of myself. That's hard in this day and age. And what happens is we end up getting negative body images. A negative body image is just what it is. It's thinking negative about yourself. It's seeing yourself in a negative light or having like a poor self-image. You back in? Are you back? Oh, I'm not for sure.
yeah,
Okay, I
I'm
can
back.
see you.
I'm not sure what happened. Sorry.
Oh no, that's okay. No
Sorry. I
apology.
don't know. It kicked me out and then I don't know. It didn't let me back in. I don't know.
Right. It's live, so these things definitely happen. But if I'm not bring you up to speed, I was talking about I talked about the definition of body image is how we view our own body. When
Mhm,
you hear body image, what do you think
mhm.
when you hear that word?
Body image. A couple things come to mind. I think of how you view yourself, and then I think about how others view you, and then I think about what, as society, what do we view as what's body image? And so those are the things that come to my mind when I hear the word body image. And a lot of those different things mean different reasons for different people,
Right.
and for the individual themselves. It plays a lot on like mentally for them, because you're living up to so many people's standards. You're also
Yes.
have your own view of what you may want your body to be, because you may not be happy where
Yes.
you currently are. And then
Yes.
you're looking at what the society wants you to be.
Yes.
Um, and then, I mean, both of us working in the healthcare field, you think also about like as far as health wise,
Mm,
also
mhm.
thinking about like as far as being healthy and
Right.
making sure that you don't have certain chronic illnesses and things like that. So it's a lot of it's hard for people because people struggle a lot trying to live up to all these different standards. And
Right.
then also with, now with the whole thing with social media, that is a whole nother aspect of body imaging.
No, like the subject is like really layered, like you said. The ideas that and another thing I said when you got casted away, no slang, is that we are to have the idea is to have a healthy body image. And that's meaning that you
Yeah.
feel positive about yourself. Is that you're comfortable with yourself. You're comfortable in your
Right.
own body. You're comfortable in your own skin. And even if you're not where you want to be or that you think you need to make improvements, that you're not having a negative body image. And so many of us,
Yes.
and I definitely can say for years, and sometimes I have to catch myself now, I mean, that I would have a negative body image, that I would have these like unrealistic expectations of how I'm supposed to look, based off the media and societal
Yeah.
norms. And that's where a lot of the negativity comes from, because the media and like I said, this subject, we're talking about women because it's mainly, it's women's month. Um,
Hmm.
especially towards little girls, towards young girls, and for women, the media perception is comes from the objectification of women, of like how women are seen through the male gaze, like her butt, her thighs, your lips, what size you are. So a lot of sexual attractiveness isn't like what we think, my own body image. It's like what the world is telling me and what society is telling me. So I know in my own era, because I'm a Gen Xer, 1970. So, and you are a millennial, right?
Correct.
Okay, so during my time, the ideal body was supposed to be like 34, 25, 36, or either 36, 25, 34. Like
Mhm.
your breast was this size and that's like a Coke bottle body. That's like,
Yeah.
the shape that they, sold us. And so people try to work on being that. But in this day and age, like what's for your era, what's the ultimate, what's supposed to be the body that you have now? Because times have changed. Because the body I describe is
Yes.
little.
People still use those measurements
Yeah,
because that has always been known the same. I want to, what was it? 36, 25, 34, whatever.
yeah.
So people
And
still
we
use
aren't
those
knocking
measurements, but
anybody
as
who's that size.
no, 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 no. But now you hear a lot about, oh, I want me a BBL. That's the whole
Yeah,
thing now where women want a nice size breast, small waist, still hippie, and have a nice size butt. And so
right.
you have women who are going to get these surgeries to get
Mhm.
this body image. And it's ironic because back in the 90s and 80s,
Yeah,
that wasn't something that was popular, having this really curvy, voluptuous
No,
body like
it
that. You
wasn't.
know, it was like, nobody want no girl with no big booty like that. So, and to fast forward to now, you have these women who unfortunately have lost their lives trying to get these
Right,
surgeries, or either what they've been botched, getting all this stuff put into their bodies. If it's
right.
the injections they get, or if it's silicone that they're getting.
Yes,
And so in my generation, that is the going thing now. Everybody is getting their bodies done, and uh
mm,
you hear a lot about people are getting these Barbie or fake bodies. Nobody's natural anymore.
right.
And it's kind of like, yeah, because society has put so much pressure on having this perfect body. And then like you said, objectifying by men of women looking a certain way. And
Mhm.
so women who you could say are average shaped women are now like, well, I want to be sexy too. I want to be looked at. I want to be, chased after. So they do go and get bodies that normally you would see
Yes.
someone of like who worked as a stripper or whatever have these really exotic bodies. They decide like, well, I want to walk around here too with, booty on top of booty. So
Well, now
so yeah,
I
in my
don't
generation, everybody has.
I know. I don't like the way that
And
they're
we
making it natural versus, surgery, because they're like,
yeah,
I don't, I mean, because a woman should, anyone should have the choice to, if you're an adult, to make the decision of what you want to do for your body. Because remember, our working
right.
definition is body image is your own image of yourself. And so, because there's some people who are
Right.
in a healthy frame of mind and they're just like, I want to tweak this and tweak that. And so we shouldn't shame them for doing it, because now there's a lot of shaming. And I know it kind of stems from a place
Mhm.
because so many, like, there's these cookie cutter like bodies now, that everyone wants to look the same. But I think that that's like it's because we've fallen victim to the media dictating how we should look and how, yeah, just but I'm mainly talking about Western culture here, like in the Western hemisphere in the United States, because there are definitely areas, other places, where a fullness and not just thinness is um
Mhm.
is acceptable, is what is beautiful. And
Right.
media, because the media in the United States, they push thinness and whiteness and youthfulness as the idea for how one should look.
Beauty. Right. Yeah.
And we put a lot of attention on celebrities as well in the media, like even they'll bring up a celebrity and they'll automatically mention whether they lost weight or not. Like, oh, they've gained weight. Oh, they've lost weight.
Yeah.
Oh, they're in super good shape. So we're hyper focused on other people's body and how we should look. Is there any celebrity that you can think of that people have like shamed for their body, or for being confident in who they are? Look, I'm giving a big hint.
Yes. I think you talked earlier about Lizzo. Definitely, she comes to mind. And I also want to say Kim Kardashian too, because there
Mm,
are mixed reviews about her. There are
right.
those who praise her and super like, I want her whole image. And then there are people who are like, ew, like she went and got this
Yes.
body. Her body image is of mocking of African American women, and
Right.
that's not her natural cultural, so.
Yeah.
And going back to Lizzo, I think because she is a plus size woman, and people dare feel like people who are more who are plus size, how dare you have confidence in
Mhm.
yourself? How
Right,
dare you feel that you can wear certain clothes? Like
right,
that clothes only pertains to someone who has a certain body, who's slimmer,
right.
who's curvier. Like you can't wear crop tops. You can't
No, right.
wear certain dresses and or bodycon stuff that's close to the body. And so I think it was wrong. I think people, it just showed how nasty and how kind of messed up society is,
Yeah,
of feeling like they could attack her the way they did. I mean, to the part where I think she wrote a song and really
yeah.
talked about like how at one point it really was like playing on her mental health, and how it really made her
Mhm,
feel like,
mhm.
just because I walk around here, and she's young herself, like I walk around here
Right.
because I want to shake my butt or wear a thong or whatever she was doing, I'm being bashed for it. But you don't say anything about the other women who are
Mhm.
doing it just because they're smaller than me. And
Exactly.
it's like, people sometimes I feel like when they feel bad about themselves, they
Yes,
use that negative energy to try to make others feel bad.
yes,
Or people just like to spill hate. And it's
yes.
just unfortunate that
All the above.
she was done that way. Because I feel like, why is it such a big bother for anybody? It's her body. It's not
Mhm,
harming you in any type of way. You don't have to
mhm,
follow her. You don't have to listen to her music. You don't have to look at her music videos. You don't have to do any of that. So for me, I'm sometimes very confused why people spend so much energy and time on social media typing
mhm.
up hateful rhetoric towards someone that you know nothing about, and you're just
No,
spending all this time wasting all this energy on somebody for what? Like, what does that do for you to spill hate? I don't
no.
know. That's just me.
No,
It's a waste
that's
of time.
good. I'm glad that you transitioned to body shaming, because I looked up exactly what it is. And body shaming is the act of saying something negative about another person's body. It can be your own body. You can body shame yourself. You totally can look, we do
True.
it a lot. We look in the mirror and we be like, oh, I'm so fat. Oh, I need to lose weight. Oh my God, look at your stomach. Oh, this gut is disgusting. Oh, I look so disgusting. We don't want to look in the mirror, you know. It's commentary about a person's size, their age. It can cover clothes, food, hair, or their level of the level of perceived attractiveness that you think. And I think that's exactly what was going on with Lizzo. It's like she has every right to think she's beautiful and to feel that she is sexy, or to wear whatever clothes she wants to, but people treat her like she was doing something wrong. There's something else I want to back up, and then we're going to talk about fat phobia. It's called the BMI, which is the body. I'm put it here.
Body mass
Body mass index.
index.
And I
Yeah.
put, is it biased? It is biased. First of all, it was created, I think in like, I looked up, it was like 1830. And it was
Yeah.
created by a mathematician. He was like a scientist. I know,
Mhm.
mathematician, I think like an astrologer or something. So it wasn't a system that was created by a medical doctor. And it was really about
Mhm.
statistics and about a certain population. But what happened is insurance companies in like the 20th century started to use the body mass index system, because it's a system that measures like based off your height, your weight, and your age, of like what your average weight should be or something like that, your height and your age, right? Um, and so insurance companies started to use the system in order to insure people. And now, and they based it on like, if you were this size at this age, then you were healthy. So the idea is that the BMI measures your health, and it's totally unfounded and it's not true. Actually, the whole system should be thrown out, but it hasn't been. And they didn't take into account like Asians, or I put it here, let's see, they didn't, it overestimated fatness and health risks for Black people, and it didn't, and it underestimated health risks for Asian communities. So it's almost like a racist system as well. I don't want to use that word and get cut off. But then body shaming can also cross over
Discriminating.
right? So body shaming can cross over into fat phobia. And that is where like people actually have a fear. And this in our body image tonight, we're not just talking about fat, but mainly that's where all this came from. It crosses over into a fear or and it crosses over into it, which is rooted in diet culture. So everything is leading us to the next thing. People like just feel like someone who is fat or overweight is either lazy, dirty, unhealthy, morally bad, like dangerous, or all these things. Like, and it's really, and another thing, it's normal for people to think this way and to say these things. Like, it's like totally like ingrained in our society. It's an implicit bias. It's where you've adopted this, you've internalized this to think that. And I that's what I felt was happening with Lizzo and with different people or whatever.
Yeah.
Um,
Even when I to comment on the B is it BMI? Yeah. When I go to the doctor, and of course when I mean, as you know, I was thinner back then. This is probably the biggest I've ever been in my life, which I still don't care. I think I look good anyhow.
right, that's
Um, when your doctor is like, "Oh yeah, your BMI is you're
they do bring
overweight,"
it
and da da
up.
da, and I was just like, "Overweight for who?" I mean, I literally asked my doctor. I was like, "Overweight for who?" And I was like, "I don't go by that chart." I was
Right.
like, "If we've done a physical on me, we've ran labs, I'm very healthy.
No, that's
I
right.
don't think this chart is like you said, it is very biased. I don't think that it shows a clear understanding of all races. I think, and to know the history now of it, that it was when it was formulated and how it was
Mhm.
formulated,
Yeah.
that is something that is so old, and things have changed so much that I don't think that that to me is an accurate chart to use for
Mhm.
everybody, because every race has its own uniqueness and shapes and sizes. And as we
Yes,
know, for African Americans, we've always been the more curvier race. And so
exactly.
I've always been like, I don't use that. I don't go by that part in medical. I just don't. I just like, I don't think that you telling me that you tell me I'm fat or I'm overweight or that I'm prone to get this, I'm prone to get that. I don't agree with it. Now I do agree, like certain foods, eating certain foods in certain ways, yes. Um,
Right.
to decrease in certain things to make sure that you don't get certain chronic illnesses, I agree with, but I don't agree with the BMI. Yeah.
I am going to my I'm looking at my Facebook page. I'm sorry because
Okay.
it's showing that I am private. So no one can see. So I'm fixing that. So the thing
I
about
wanted
this
to.
whole system is I'm doing 50,000 things at one time, but I am trying to look like I am not. So anyway, I just made it public. I do not know why it was private.
This happened last time.
It did, right?
I
Because
wanted
I'm
to bring.
like, this don't make sense. I'm sorry, we taking a commercial break. This does
Right. We
not
was
make
like, why
sense.
are nobody interacting with us? Nobody
Right.
likes
So
us.
I'm totally fine if no one was there right now, but okay. So I just fixed that. And I was totally paying attention to you. So
It made me, it made me also think,
mhm.
the story about the slave Sarah Bartman. Bart is
Yes.
it Bartman or
Yeah, and she
Batman?
was like in
It made
France
me think
and was
about
sold
this
her slave.
subject.
Mhm.
Yes, it made me think about that. And they said
That's
this was back in
perfect.
like the 1700s with her, where they used her as a kind of like a guinea pig in a sense of kind of dissecting her body, because she was a really curvy African woman. And I it
They
made me
hadn't
think
seen
too, just
that.
back then, yeah, like
Mhm.
they had dissected.
I'm not for sure. You did freeze, but I know you were talking about Sarah
whole
Bartman.
topic, and when we're talking
Yes.
about body imaging and just like how far back this actually goes, especially for African Americans, how far it goes back, about just how people looked at our body and consistently, um, you know, depict of how we are supposed to look and why we looked a certain way, and as if we were some type of aliens or something.
No, she was totally objectified. Like they said, they had never seen anyone like that, and they didn't treat her like she was human. And like people paid to go and like see her. I know it was
Yes.
like very sad. Like I almost cried at her story. Like they paid to see her, they put her on display.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she was like
Yes.
poked, and I think when she did die, they did like dissect her because she had a large, she had a big booty, she had a big
Yes.
butt, like super huge, like
Yes.
show booty. So they were really, so that's how they were treating her, like she was subhuman or something. So she did had an awful sad life because I think like they took her, she was like on tour, like she was an
Yeah.
animal.
Yeah. And
Another,
she, I think they said she died in her mid-20s because of
oh, I
just
didn't know that.
the treatment and stuff. She died like between ages 25 and 26.
So there is
So
a
yeah.
history, not only like, and that's the intersectionality, I love that word, of being a woman and being a Black woman, is that although this happens to women in a whole, Black women intersect on that, whereas they also have to deal with other biases or other discrimination or other negative body images about our bodies, that you're big. Nobody wanted to be big, Black, and ugly when I was growing up. You know what I'm saying? That was a thing. You didn't want to be the big fat Black woman. And I don't want to insult anyone, but I'm being real that these are things that people still say to this day. And our bodies have
Mm-hmm.
been depicted as like, oh, they've over sexualized us. Even in like movies or things like that. And they've done it to Asian women. Like there's this whole fetishization. I know I'm probably saying it wrong, but a fetish for Black women and Asian women, like in movies. And that like our bodies are just for sex, and not that we're just we're human. Even in like love scenes, people have said, like, they show love scenes on TV, and a lot of times they'll show like a Black woman and they'll show like a white couple, and like it's beautiful, like they're making love, and it's slow, and then when it's Black people, it's like humping like dogs. I'm
It's
being
jungle music.
right.
It's
It's
jungle
like
music
very
in the back.
hedonistic. I don't even ever use that word, but it's like very, and and it's probably some beautiful Black things, but people brought this up a lot of times. So you see those double standards, you see the differences. And then I wanted to talk about commercials. I read that I'm gonna give you three choices. So children view how many commercials in a year? Either 10,000, 900, or 20,000. How many commercials do you think children view in a year?
Probably
Either
20,000.
it's 20,000. So you're saying
Yeah.
20,000 different images. And we're talking about all children. And what are those children saying? What's going into their head? Not only that, in people's household, you also have to deal with how your family is structured, how your family views thinness and fatness and beauty and your body. There are some people who the kids are already talking about diets. We're gonna talk about diet culture at a young age. I know little girls
Yeah.
and boys who
Mm.
are like already on diets and working out. And like sometimes people think that's good. Working out and being active is a great thing, but if that's like your focus, but I want to back up. I don't want to get ahead. So we're seeing these images, and there were statistics before. This could be old, but it was saying about suicide in girls, that it was least in Black girls. And so they wanted to know why, but they felt it was because Black women saw the least amount of images of themselves in media, like magazines and on TV and stuff. So we were able to come up with our own ideas of beauty or see them in our family. Whereas
Mhm.
if you were Caucasian, you would you're constantly being bombarded with how you should look. So it was like,
Yeah.
you know, creating more anxiety, more pressure on you to look that way. So I don't know, but that was that was studies a long time ago. But I'm just imagining out of all those 20,000 commercials, what kids are looking at and what they're seeing.
Of course, you're always seeing some thin person running down a beach in a bikini, or she's smoking a cigarette, or she's doing something with her hair, and everything is always very sexualized about women anyway. So I'm pretty
Yes,
sure, like, not only seeing the sexualization of her, but then also seeing also just, oh, you have to be this thin person, you have to be this certain body image to be
right.
accepted, to be sexy,
Yes.
to be acknowledged, to people to know who you are, because
To be
otherwise, if you
seen.
this big fat person, and I'm not saying that's the terminology, but I'm just saying people think like that, then you're not worthy, you're not good, you're not acceptable.
Yes,
And that's not true. And it's sad because commercials to this day are still the same. I mean, they've little bit have tried to, like,
hmm,
just along the trying to put more races in different types of commercials and things like that. But as far as like body images go, you still see pretty much thin or muscular people. You don't see all shapes and sizes.
no, you don't.
Depending on
Hmm.
what the commercial is about. And typically what I hate is sometimes when it is about food, it is typically someone who is a more like a bigger plus size person. Like,
That's
really?
true. When no, that's right what you said, because there's even levels to being like to being overweight. Like a smaller, more like there's a smaller fat body. You know what I'm talking about? There's
Mhm.
like a
Yeah.
mid-size, a bigger. So a lot of times, even in lingerie ads, when you're like so excited because you're like, oh, there go a thick girl. Her stomach's still kind of flat. She has an
Mhm.
hourglass body. She's not, you don't really see
Mhm.
like the bulging stomach. She doesn't have like love handles really. And you like, she's still kind of like, so they're still like keeping it clean, they're still keeping it like, it's still like a bias there, it's still not really representative of everyone. And then there's like
Yes.
medium size fat, and then we're not even list, we ain't even talked about being super skinny, really
I was
thin.
about to say that.
Really thin people get a lot of flack too. They get a lot of
Mhm.
people talk about like, you don't have breasts, you don't have a butt, flat butts. You know, in our community, come
Mhm.
on, let's not even act like we don't be talking about people with a flat
Be like, well,
butt.
you see, you seen them pants on her.
Right. No, and all that falls into body
Mm.
shaming. No one can help how they were born. Or like that goes back to your genealogy. What's in your DNA? What's your what's your family history of how you're looking? I wanted to
Right.
move on since you also brought that up. This lead takes us into body positivity. We're going back up again, but the body positivity, I'm always backing up, right? I'm always going forward and then I'm always going back.
Back up.
Body
Yep. Thank
positivity
you.
is a movement. Now, this is what I found out about it. This is how everything gets co-opted. The body positive movement was created by and for people in marginalized bodies, particularly fat, black, queer, and disabled bodies. So it's almost like, remember, and then they came out with a hashtag, I think it was called body positive movement or body positivity. So remember, they
Mhm.
created this because marginalized groups don't fit into the beauty standards.
Right.
Now, around 2012 or something, when influencers really came into play on social media, they
Mhm.
kind of took over that and started, like really thin girls or something was posting body positivity. So you get it, it was something that was created for people who don't have a platform, who aren't looked at as beautiful. But you have this other group who kind of took over the word. although it fits, but it really wasn't created for, that segment. And it became, so they
Mhm.
started capitalizing on it because companies, what do? This is how capitalism works. Companies start noticing that these influencers could be marketable and they could make money on it. And they're
Yep.
always being trendy. And I try to tell people, they always think like there's always a huge agenda. The huge agenda is money. Sometimes the company does
Money.
not care about the message really. It's what is the trend at the time. Oh, the trend is being
Mhm.
body positive. Dove jumped on it and started showing, people with, and I'm not saying it was a good campaign, but a lot of times they're doing it to make money, and that still can be damaging as well. That still can
Yeah.
be. So thin, so these really thin people started using it, or just people just started using positive body positivity as just like a word, just saying it, but it was really for people who didn't have that representation. Have
It's
you ever?
it's
Go ahead.
it's um it's interesting that you say what the marginalized group was, what it was
Yeah.
made for, that slogan, or that movement. And if you hear, it was the queer, the black, this and that,
Mhm.
it's almost like they had a double whammy in a sense, because
Mm.
already being black, you already going through stuff. Now you got
Yes.
this whole body thing on top. Being of the LGBTQ community,
Yes.
then you have to now, on top of that, to think of that your sexuality is being targeted. Now your
Right.
body's being targeted, and then say
Exactly.
if it's race too, you got actual triple things going on.
Yes.
So it's like, wow, how do you fight against all these different things? And then me going back to what you originally were saying, how people took this movement and made it into their own, and then companies or whoever started capitalizing off that. That is that's a part of why people feel like, with when it comes to movements or when it comes to things, it's so hard to keep it kind of in its originality of what it started from,
Yes.
because then you start to have these other people go, well, why can't we join in? Now you're discriminating against us. But it's like, ultimately, are you here because you want to actually fight for the movement, bring awareness to it, bring a cause to it? Or are
Right.
you really here just trying to capitalize or bring some type of fame to yourself? Because people
Yes.
also do things for the likes now. We know
Yes.
that's the whole social media thing. I got to build up my fan base. I need my likes. So
Yes.
yeah, I have seen a lot of different I guess movements turn into negative, or not say they turn into negative, but it's hard to, like, you have to fight off the negative, the people that's trying to bite off the image. Now they want to bite off the image, and now you have to go back and do reworking and be like, no, this is what the movement actually is about. It's not about this. It
Exactly.
almost kind of makes me think about Black Lives Matter movement.
Same
How when
thing.
people try to make it seem to be, no, you're really saying this. It's really about this. And it's like, no, let's
Mhm.
take it back. The
Mhm.
movement is really about this. We're talking about police brutality against African Americans, and how that is more alarming, because at this time, no other race is experiencing this but
Mhm.
African Americans. And
Mhm.
people try to make it like all lives matter. No, we're going to say all lives matter. And it's like,
Mhm.
well, all lives can't matter if Black lives are not mattering.
Right.
So
It's just
it actually didn't make sense.
we saw that with the hashtag say her name. Say her name was
Mhm.
for Black women, particularly I think a certain Black woman. I can't think of the name, I apologize. Who
Breonna Taylor.
It was before her actually, but they could use
Um,
it with Brianna's name as well. It was
yeah.
for Black women because Black women were receiving less
Sandra
media.
Bland.
Yes, yes, they were receiving less media coverage for when they were being for police brutality, or if they were
Mhm.
found murdered, or
Mhm.
missing, and those type of things. And then somebody took that word and started saying it on other cultures, and we're not saying that is something like directly is wrong, but we're saying it's to bring attention to a certain cause. And when you start taking that and using it for all these other areas that already have coverage, that already have privilege, you water down the message and it loses what it really means. And that's why people say we can't have nothing, you know.
Basically, yes. And people don't get that. It's like, come on now, I can give you ample reasons or examples of why we say we come up with these movements, because and then you guys take it and transform it into something else. Then after some months go by, people kind of forget about what the original cause was, and then we got to go back and do the whole framework again. So
No, right.
it's
Um, I want to acknowledge Maurice. He says, I'm here, Pookie. Um, Khadidra said, thank you for joining. She says, sorry, I am here. I was late. You are right on time. We thank you for joining. Yes, Maurice, it was Sandra Bland. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We mentioned Sandra Bland because we said the hashtag was created, say her name, and we originally believed it was for her. And we talked about how hashtags to bring awareness get co-opted by other groups, and then it waters down the message or it gets lost, and then it just becomes like this trendy thing. Hi Brenda. Hi, she says, appreciate you listening and tuning in. Thank you so much. Oh, everyone's apologizing. You guys really aren't late.
we were
Because
just
Joe wasn't posting. You're late, but you're here. I appreciate you, Edie. Thank you, Mrs. Millet. Okay, let me go here. So I put fat phobia up because we did mention, but I feel like we glossed over it. A lot of stuff that we just mentioned was fat phobic. It's like a fear. Basically, we know phobia usually means a fear of something, a fear of fat or a fear of fat people, a fear of fatness, just a fear of fat. Take the people out of it. And it's rooted in diet culture. I'm looking at my notes. And I also read that it's a system of oppression. If you really think about it, people are oppressed by this because as I said earlier, I'm not for sure people heard that people are considered. I hear people say, "Oh, I don't like fat people." I don't like they're lazy or I hate them. Like this is really words that people use and say, or like the person is like a criminal, or that they're like immoral, that there's something like wrong with them, they're unattractive, and people really assign this to that person, and then they create these biases. And then when people go on, they get discriminated in jobs,
Yep.
going on job interviews in the medical field. I work in the medical field. There are people who we had and we couldn't accommodate them because we didn't have a certain size exam bed. We didn't have like, certain instruments, even in women's health. When you use a speculum to do a pap smear in the vaginal area on a woman, you need a larger size, instrument. We had those, but there were times we had to go and scrape and look for them. So it's like it's not just talking about someone's appearance. We're talking about someone's life, and this is why a lot of people end up doing what they stay in the house. It affects them mentally and emotionally. They don't want to come out. They don't want to socialize. It just affects a lot of parts of their lives. You don't even want to go to the grocery store. You don't want to go to the movies. Just different
Get on
things that don't
airplanes.
common on an airplane. You have to buy two seats. I'm not
That's
like,
scandalous. That is wrong.
and it affects like what you do, because I'm gonna say for me, like there's another thing. Sometimes when you're overweight, you put off things. Like I was like, oh yeah, I'm not gonna go to the beach this year because I gained weight. Then I was like, oh yeah, before I take that flight, I'm gonna lose weight so I can fit in the seat. When you're doing things like that, you're having a negative image of your body. You're having a negative body image, because body image means how you view your body, how you see yourself, your mental image of yourself, not two seats. He's always saying something.
I've heard I was watching, I think it was either TikTok or
Mhm.
Instagram, I can't remember, but there was a guy that was on there and he was like, why do y'all women before y'all get ready for vacation? He was like, why
Right.
y'all go on diets? Why y'all be like, oh
No,
girl, I'm about
you're
to go on this
right.
vacation in a month. Let me go on a diet. And he'd be like, so all year round, you ate what you wanted, you did what you wanted, but this
Yes.
vacation, you gotta drop 5 to 10 or 15 pounds just to go on this vacation that you probably gonna be gone for 4, 5, 6, 7 days. He
No.
said, and I mean be going hard and be getting like, I gotta go to the gym, I gotta get my salads. And he was just like, I really want to know, like, what's the thought process around that?
No, really, it's pathological. Like
Yeah.
it's always, it's like internalized at this point. And that's why I put up diet culture. And I remember hearing that, someone saying that a couple years ago, and I started following an account. And when I think back, I was on a diet in high school. I was taking diet pills because a guy looked at me and said my calves were big. And I was like, I don't want big calves. I don't want lard. He was like, oh man, I wish I had them big old legs. I would be playing football. Oh my God, I was mortified because I was a young woman. Right. Later, I think we did talk about it. He was like, no, like that's a good thing. I was just saying, like, you see my little skinny bird legs. I didn't take that like that. I was taking
Counting?
pills. I was taking pills then. So diet culture is the pervasive belief that appearance and body shape are more important than physical, psychological, and general well-being. And
Yeah.
that's for real. You were about to say something?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was watching the show called Chicago Med, and there was an episode where they had a young lady who was jogging, like it was during the winter season, but she had a lot of gear on, and she passed out like a block down from the hospital, and so another bystander was like, oh, can we get help? There's someone to pass down the block. Anyways, the
Yeah.
doctors that were standing outside ran down there, got her, brought her back into the hospital. She was in the emergency room. And when they started, she was basically hypothermic, and she was dehydrated and a whole bunch of other stuff. So they started to do the medical things on her. And next thing you know, when they started taking off her clothes because they were trying to warm her up, she was so thin. And come to find out, she had been battling with an eating disorder for like 20 something years.
Yes.
And it to her, she was like, she was used to being in and out of the hospital because of her eating disorder. And she had also had like got a lawyer and wrote up a draft and got it appointed by the courts that like they could not feed her through a tube. They could not do anything because in her mind, she was like, no, I have to lose 15 more pounds. And this lady
Wow.
literally
It's
was
real.
like 90 pounds. You could
Wow.
see her rib cage, and they were like, we can't even do certain things because we would break a rib. We would do something to, add extra harm to you. And it
Yeah.
was just sad thinking when we're talking about this to think back, like that's how bad sometimes this whole body imaging goes to, where psychologically people start to think in their minds that when they see themselves, I'm
Yes.
fat, I'm
Yes.
overweight. And
Yes.
in reality, you're like, you are
You
so
could be
skinny.
fine.
I can see you breathing, like I can see your stomach and your back. That's how
Yeah.
bad. But in their mind, they're like, no, I'm overweight. I have to keep exercising, or I have to eat, or I can only eat. Like it got so bad, she would measure her fats and carbs and
Mm.
things like that, to where she was eating just a little bit. And it was to the point where she eventually ended up passing, unfortunately, in the episode. But yeah, it
Hmm.
was like, wow, you really have people who battle with that, and it's a lot of it can come to life or death sometimes for people.
So I want to read a comment. So Edie Millet says, thank you for saying all that. We were talking about fat phobia, how it affects all your life. So thank you for saying all of that. It's not just one part of you, it's your whole life. All of you is affected. How you show up at the grocery store, at a job, depression, because fat phobia is like, it promotes like just the hatred And another thing, it says, I was reading how it's a little different from where's my note? It is a little different from, oh my goodness, from like other phobias like homophobia or whatever, because it
Mhm.
comes from actual like fear. It doesn't necessarily come, carries into hatred, but it comes out of fear, because there's such this fear of that I'm going to gain weight, because what are people going to think about me? Because people think you let yourself go, you don't care. Weight is just weight. It really is.
Right.
Hi
So
Jonna,
true.
thank you for tuning in. She says, so true.
Yeah,
And
it is.
you had to say something.
Oh, go,
So
go
diet,
ahead.
again, let me click back here so we can put it back up here. Diet culture is at the root of fat phobia, a system of oppression that promotes hate speech towards fat people and feeds a real fear of fatness. And it says thinness is being considered as the aesthetic, and fatness as unattractive, pathological, and even shameful. And so, as we talk about diet culture, you mentioned it. Diet culture promotes eating disorders, bulimia, where people eat and then they throw the food up, or people who,
Anorexia.
yeah, or anorexia, where you that's extreme. I believe
They
that, like,
binge.
you're not eating. Yeah, I think is bulimia binging? I didn't really look that up. But there's anorexia, there's bulimia, body dysmorphia, where you look at yourself like what you said, you could literally be 90 pounds, and what you see is like 10 times that size. Um, we have children, as I said, who are already saying I'm fat and I'm overweight. And now the idea is to be, the new movement is to be anti diet culture, is to not live your life under these restrictions, under I'm on keto now, I'm just going to be a vegan for all this time, and I'm not against veganism, believe me. And so you're restricting yourself to these calories, or counting your macros, or always, I got to go to the gym, or like that's your whole conversation. And there was a time when I got caught up in that. And if you backtrack 2 years ago, I was thinner than this. But I had all the magazines, always looking in them, always, that was on my mind 24/7. I wasn't just living, I was constantly looking at what I'm eating. There's a difference with being concerned and having awareness, whereas far as like, but that you have a real fear, and that you're constantly judging yourself, and you fall into this really dangerous zone, because everything around us on TV, commercials, you got skinny popcorn, everything is telling you to be skinny all the time. It's telling you to be thin.
I do eat that popcorn though, because the one that's no, but it's true. It is. And I think people don't realize that for when I look at health, of course, we talk about whole health, and I'm glad that the medical field is starting to really focus on this, but
Yes.
understanding that the mental and the physical go hand in hand. And
Yes.
so when people
Right.
do have
If you ain't right
these,
up here, ain't nothing
yeah,
right.
yeah, when things don't go right up there, yes, it tells your brain is the computer. It's
You're
telling your body to do certain things.
you're
And I
in
know like
bad
when
health.
people,
Mhm.
yeah, when
It
people
affects
are
your
depressed,
Yes, I was gonna say
there are
that.
some people who either stop eating, and there
Yes.
are some people who will overeat. And
Yes.
so people don't think how those two correlate together, and
Yes.
how it does play a bigger role in one's whole health, is what I want to say. But yeah, Jonna said we put so much on weight. True, we do. We do. It is. We do put a lot on weight, and we depict on who looks good and what's acceptable for society and what's not. She said,
Jana also says, with losing weight, there is a fear of gaining it back. Oh my God, yes, a feeling like you failed and will be judged by. I'm going to be very transparent. So I have gained what we're calling COVID weight. And I did see someone I hadn't seen in a while. And that's the very first thing they mentioned was my weight. And it was like when I first kind of came outside. And it goes to exactly what you just said. It was the fear, was like that judgment. I'm being judged because I feel like I failed. They're going to think I fell off. They're going to think I don't care about myself. they're going to think. But sometimes you don't know what's going on with somebody. The person didn't ask about nothing else about me. The first thing they did was slap me on my butt and was like, wow, you gained so much weight. And you're right, people are so focused on that, and it really hurt my feelings. I just want to say that. But J Red says, "What's up, J Red?" He says, "Change starts with them." That is
very true.
J Red is a comedian. He is one of the hostess with the most. Is that how you say it? So anyway, but that's right. Change starts from within. And that's why we're going to talk about body positivity, because body positivity is about changing within. Edie says there is a huge difference between focusing on dieting, right, and learning to eat healthy. And it's what you said, a holistic lifestyle where you're not just like, oh, how many calories? Because girl, I didn't count calories. I done been on every diet, counted calories, fasted. I've gone up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down.
Yeah,
And
I've never dieted. I've always been the rebel one. Like, I don't give a I'm not,
yeah.
I got too much going on in life anyways. I'm not about to add an extra stress in trying to figure out how to eat healthy or pay people with this, these expensive diet plans.
Oh, I didn't pay people.
Like, what is it? Jenny Craig, Weight Watchers.
I've been on Weight Watchers.
I'm like, I've never had it. But one thing, I don't think I ever like trip much about body imaging, but my thing was always about probably more of like being a darker tone, being dark skinned, if anything. That has always been my thing. But have known people
That's next week. No,
but I have known people to have like really struggle in my age group about weight, and especially for those, like, if we were younger, we were petite, and then as we got older, kind of formed into our being older women or had our first child, there was a lot around that too. I've heard women say like,
culture.
I don't want to have a child in my 30s because I may be prone to gain a lot of weight or be hard to lose the weight after I have my child. So they think, oh, I'm going to have my child in my early 20s.
No.
That way I'll lose the weight. My mind had always been on hearing that having your child in the 20s, because of as you get older, there were, you could be high risk and there were risks like that. But a lot of friends that I knew were like, no, I'm having my baby early because I don't want to be big.
Wow.
And I was like,
wow.
Really? That's natural. You're growing a human.
No, and that should be our focus. But look how we're concentrating on what we weigh. But two things you just said I want to piggyback on. That's snapback culture.
Yeah.
Meaning after you have a baby, the pressure on a woman to get back like she was. People are really, I see now that I'm older, I can look and see how people really bring that up. And I'm like, oh, that wasn't a good thing saying like snap back, because you literally just had a whole human, a baby come out of you. Your body needs to heal. And you would think that the only thing that we should be focused on is healing and our baby and taking care of ourselves in a nurturing way and having compassion. But it's this whole thing. We just really celebrate people because she lost the weight so quickly, especially with celebrities. I don't know what they're doing because I don't see no stretch marks. I don't see anything, but they've always put them as the poster child of how you should after having a baby. Another thing you talked about in your age range, I'm 51, so I'm where is J-Lo is the new 50, right? So now like this pressure, like I just can't be grandma. I gotta be like the sexy grandma. Like J-Lo is not a grandma. Right. I mean, I had my first child when I was 18, but J-Lo didn't. So J-Lo is like not a grandmother yet, but like I think we're the same age. So she's like totally like swinging on poles. She's dancing and like she the new 50. I want to just relax. I'm just kidding. But so we got diet culture here, leading into snapback culture, and then in diet culture is involved. What are those things people wear?
Waist trainers,
diet pill. Come on now, what's the T? The T?
Oh,
The
they got the
diet
detox tea.
detox teas,
They
detoxing,
got gummies.
gummies. Oh, what's the vinegar? Drinking the vinegar,
Oh, the apple cider vinegar,
apple cider vinegar. Like people, I
a
was on
lemon drink.
girl,
Yeah,
I was
it's
on all those. I was on Beyonce's plan where you put the paprika in your water and you don't eat nothing. I was on that one. I was on the eat lettuce and grapes, the cabbage. What is the other one called? Cabbage, the cabbage soup. I was on all of those different things. Right. I was on all those. But anyway, we want to talk about body positivity after talking about all those things. Body positivity movement, as they may not have heard this, remember we wasn't on air. Body positivity movement was created by and for people in marginalized bodies, particularly fat, black, queer, and disabled bodies. And as I mentioned, influencers and really thin people started using the hashtag and they started capitalizing on it, and it sort of watered down exactly what people meant by body positivity. It means that you have a healthy outlook or view about your body no matter what size you are. As Edie said, that you could be concentrating on, eating just a healthy diet, things that are like really nutrient dense, that are like, packed with a lot of nutrients, but not that you're just always counting calories. You're always worried about what's going in your mouth, because we're supposed to enjoy life, not like constantly be feeling, having negative, like all food is not bad for you. It's
right,
about like how much like that you take in,
right.
or having a balance. Well, I used to go by balanced diet. I don't even know if that's the thing anymore. Is balanced diet the thing?
That Yeah, but they really don't teach much about that anymore either.
Yeah,
Like that was a pushback I remember basically in the 90s
there
when
is.
everybody in school, remember in your school cafeterias, you had that triangle and it broke the food groups down and it said to have a
Yes.
balanced meal. You got your milk and cheese, your bread and all that,
Yes.
and your proteins, and then you got your starches. And yeah, I don't even think people don't even know what that is nowadays. Like, what is she talking
Right.
like,
So
you don't remember the triangle?
no, you had like a protein and you had your starch and you had a vegetable. I
Yeah, and
think
that was
we
your
still eat
balanced
like
meal.
that. Do you guys still eat like that? I eat like that. I think I eat like that. Oh well, no, not all the
The
time.
crazy part, I'm not a big cooker, but that's always stuck in my head when you make a meal to
Mhm.
have it balanced like that. And I was
Yeah,
cooking with my partner and I was telling him like I've always was known that you have to have your protein, you
yeah,
have a starch, and then you got to have a veggie to go with it. And he
yeah,
was just looking at me like, "What?" And I was just like, "Yeah, that's how you supposed to cook, right?"
yes. That's some of us. So body positivity. I've made some notes here. It's the assertion that all people deserve to have a positive body image, regardless of how society and popular culture view the ideal shape, body, and appearance. So we want to have a goal that everybody's includes in is included in beauty, that we don't push people out and say because you're made this way or because you're that size or because you're this size, because it has a negative effect on your health. When you don't feel good about yourself, it affects your organs. It can affect your blood pressure. It can add stress, your mental health, your emotional health. All that is affected by how you feel about yourself. When we start really feeling good about yourself, your health even gets better. And I heard a doctor say before, one that I work with was saying that even like a little bit of reducing of like body fat, or like if you make small changes, that has a tremendous effect on your body. So it doesn't always have to be you worked out for 4 hours. You know what I'm saying? That you had to go be on a level where somebody else has been going to the gym and on that level or whatever. But just small changes. And instead of thinking about I gotta go and work out really hard and you haven't, just think about moving your body. Like I just gotta move more, like those little things. Now we know that Some people can't jump from having a negative body image to automatically being body positive. So there's another word. I like terms. It's called body neutrality. And that means that, and that's more accessible to people, that you feel neutral about your body. If you can't be in love with it, it's a stepping stone towards acceptance and compassion about your body. And so my question was today, what is the ultimate body? And I'll ask Jandera what she thinks it is. I don't think it's having a flat stomach. I don't necessarily think it's having like this onion butt. I think the ultimate body is that you love yourself, and that you have compassion for yourself, and that weight is weight. That if sometimes we gain, sometimes we lose, sometimes, and it's how I feel about myself. And I think we have to get amongst people and in communities of people who reinforce those positive images. Like if you gotta really think about who you're around and how they talk about people, or how even we have to even watch how we talk about people. But number one, how we talk about ourselves, how we our self-talk. Is it negative? Like, let's start catching ourselves and we're like, oh, I'm so fat, or I can't wear this. Because a lot of times we won't even wear certain outfits, even if it's in our size, because we feel like we shouldn't wear it. So to me, the ultimate body is one where you accept yourself no matter where you are. You might want to work on, losing weight or whatever. But however, I feel you should still love yourself. So before we close out, did you want to say something?
No, I totally agree with what you said. I think you can't base things off society. You need to base things off of you. And a lot of
Yes.
people struggle with self-love. And
Yes.
once you start to love yourself, you don't care about what other people
Mm-hmm.
say or what is the norm or how you should dress, long as it's always appropriate for whatever, space that you're going to be in.
Yes.
It's you feel what you love and be whatever you want to do or however you want to dress. And that's always been me. Like, I don't care what other people have to say.
Yes.
I love me and all my flaws. And so that's all that matters, because you got to love yourself first
Yes.
before you can anyone else can love you. And so I totally agree with having just people, even starting young with children, because people don't realize too some of the things that we say to kids that can
Thank
stick
you
to
for saying
them,
that. Mm-hmm.
and it can make them think like, it'll make them form negative opinions about themselves, like, oh really, maybe I shouldn't, or maybe I'm not that worthy because I am this. And so I think that it is not only just talking about what you do for self, but also how you do instill things in your children and other people around
Yes.
you, of just learning just every day to say something positive. I mean, we know we all have our jokes or whatever, and we could be our own worst critics about ourselves. So
No, I
self-love,
totally agree with
everybody.
you. I
Self-love.
agree with you. I'm going to read the last few comments. Jonna says, I am guilty of going through clothes and feeling like I don't like how it fits. We understand that.
Me too.
Khadidra says, right, because I wear my leggings all on my belly. Yes. If it just go, because you pull it up and it's like,
You gotta get the little fupa. You gotta
but
get
her
the
comment before that, she says, I'm just going to go and have lipo 360 BBL. And we also said that we are not going to shame women who want surgery or want to make a tweak here or change something there. That is also something. We're not going to do surgery versus natural bodies, because that's also an issue that we're seeing now. We feel that all women should have autonomy over their body and should be able to do what they feel is right for them. However, we want it to come from, as J Red said, a place within you that is in a place of love, in a place of, caring about yourself.
And don't be
So,
going to Tijuana to go get that either.
right. You want to go to a reputable doctor. That's what we want. That's what we want to say.
Don't be going
Okay,
to
so
alleyways.
thank you, Jandera. I totally appreciate you being on this evening. So we're going to come back next week and we will talk about colorism. So I'm not for sure what your schedule is like. I'm going to be interviewing somebody, but if you wanted to join the conversation, you are more than
Yes.
welcome to do that. Okay, so thank you.
Yes. I'll
Have
be
a
here
good
with my black girl magic.
have a good evening. Thank you, everyone, for joining the Janie B Perspective. It was a wonderful conversation. I totally appreciate you that engaged in the conversation. I'll be back next week. The show will not be live. It will be a recorded show because our guest is coming from the East Coast. As I just stated, we are going to be talking about colorism and how there is light skin privilege, how it shows up in the workplace, how it shows up in the medical field. Again, this was the Janie B Perspective, and I thank you so much for joining. If you enjoyed the content, please head over to my YouTube station, the Janie B Perspective, and subscribe. Thank you and good night.